I'm a 29-year-old Bronx native, born and raised in the Bronx. I love my borough, my community, and the people that inhabit it. And I have a passion for arts, culture, and just wellness. When I first started at Hope and I started expressing interest in working with the graduates, I didn't even know what an employment specialist was, really. I didn't even realize like the role of the individuals who were helping me before my predecessors. So, what I've learned is that what it is on paper and what you actually end up doing, in practice are kind of different.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Amanda Newman at the Economic Opportunities Program, where we focus on strategies, policies, and ideas to help people connect to quality work and thrive in a changing economy. At the Economic Opportunities Program, we're really interested in the ways in which frontline staff in the workforce development field are working to connect people to job opportunities and the particular challenges they're facing in light of COVID-19. In summer 2020, I had a wide-ranging conversation with Danny Castro, an employment specialist at the Hope program in New York City, about his past experience as a training participant and his current efforts to help people make good decisions about connecting to work in the current environment. We talked about his role, what program participants are experiencing, and how he's approaching health and safety concerns. This conversation is part of our Job Quality and Practice series, in which we highlight innovative work by practitioners and businesses to advance job quality. It has been edited for length to share some of Danny's key insights. In the first part of our discussion, Danny and I unpacked his role as a frontline employment specialist and his past experience as a training participant in construction building maintenance. Here are some highlights from Danny.
Then I started out as an energy auditor. So I was traveling all around the 5 boroughs in New York City, doing energy audits. I did that for a few years until I found myself job searching again. And I always kept in touch with my employment specialist. So, whenever I was down and out, I would call them and, just kind of get the scoop on new leads. So my employment specialist actually encouraged me to apply for an internal role. On paper, we're essentially tasked with connecting our participants to gainful employment opportunities, and not just that, but making sure that they have job retention. In practice, it ends up being a lot more support and responsibility, especially during these times when we're not interfacing with clients in person. I work on a variety of things. I might be updating somebody's resume for an opportunity one day. I might walk them through writing a strong cover letter for a specific opportunity. We might go over interview skills. We may discuss job leads that are available through the program and to the public. And then beyond job search, we also do things like we help connect people to other supportive services. So, other organizations that may deal with housing or financial advisement. People lose their documentation. People need, assistance with that, obtaining benefits. Like there's such a wide variety of things, and basically anything that can be seen as a barrier to employment is something that we, can potentially work on. Many individuals who work this role know that it can be very emotionally and sometimes even physically taxing. We have responsibilities to our clients, our funders, and our fellow team members as well. And oftentimes we empathically absorb some of the traumas and hardships that our participants are experiencing because we're so involved with them on a day-to-day basis. So these days I'm cautious to avoid burnout by placing boundaries around my workload.
Next, Danny and I discussed the HOPE program's efforts to support program participants during COVID-19 and in response to the crisis of racial injustice. Here are some of Danny's key insights.
In March, I think it was March 15th, when the city finally went into lockdown. I think the feeling that I had initially was that I knew our country was about to endure true pain and trauma and hardship on a level that we hadn't collectively experienced since 9/11. And the only difference was that this time we had a small window of opportunity to prepare for it. During the beginning of the lockdown, I think the main challenge that we were navigating was that tons of people were finding it really difficult to apply for unemployment benefits. During the beginning of the lockdown, they were experiencing extremely high application volume. Others, are experiencing lack of essential supplies, like living supplies, or access to food and toiletries. The first order of business for us was to just start reaching out to our participants, just calling everybody and really being conscious of the situation. And we were following up, not at all to talk about job search, but just to ask people the simple question: how are you? How do you plan to to get through this? How can we support you? And I give kudos to a lot of my colleagues who are so brave and talented and innovative, coming up with solutions and just doing brave things like driving around the 5 boroughs of the New York City to deliver tech like hotspots and laptops for our graduates and our participants so they can continue job searching or their onboarding process. I think everybody was so rattled by the murder of George Floyd that our organization really kind of went into like a state of solidarity during that week. We collectively made the decision to not send out email blasts, for that week, and just kind of attempt to go on as business as usual, because we felt that it would be tone deaf, essentially. So, we again reverted back to just simple follow-ups, check-ins, just to see how our participants were doing, just to see what their state of mind was. But one thing that's happened since then, which I'm really proud of, is that our executive director has enacted what she's calling a diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiative for our FY21 fiscal year. And essentially, they gathered a selection committee comprised of Hope staff members who will be reviewing RFPs for potential program facilitators that'll help us or help guide us in best practices for equality and diversity for us and our program participants.
In the last part of our conversation, Danny and I talked about his efforts to help people make good decisions about connecting to work, particularly in light of health and safety risks due to COVID-19. Here's Danny.
A lot of folks have expressed unease with riding the New York City public transit system. We're also contending with rising crime rates. So, folks just, they're not enthusiastic or excited about having to travel, to another borough. Other people express concerns of, going to work and returning home and getting their loved ones sick. Many people can express concerns about them being sick themselves, and they have underlying conditions, and they're afraid that if they're out in society, if they're out working every day, that they could potentially catch COVID and that could push it over the edge. I try my very best to offer every detail and every piece of information that I have on Job Lead. But the reality is sometimes we don't always know everything about the job conditions on the site. Sometimes an employer will sort of sell us a dream, so to speak, and then we get some of our candidates on the site, and the feedback we're getting is quite different. So I will definitely be as transparent as possible with our participants. Transparency is really key for me because I feel like it builds trust. If I see a concern rising about workplace safety, it usually jumps to the top of my priority list. I'll do my best to reach out to that client as soon as possible and hear from them in their own words what their concerns are. This may be a situation where we might want to consider putting a hold on that opportunity. And then the conversation with the client usually moves to a place of, what are our alternatives? We do our best to come up with any solutions. Can we transition to a part-time job so we have a little bit more time to job search and try to get you into a better position? we have a lot of discussions around, potentially making a lateral move, instead of taking a step backwards to move up. If a person decides that entering the workforce is not the best thing for them at the moment, it's always a decision that the whole program supports, because we don't want to have somebody, working on the job in a mental state or a physical state that is not healthy for them. So I've learned that many of the processes that it takes for somebody to get from point A to point B, unemployed to employed, it's not as black and white or as cut and dry as I initially thought. There's many dynamic challenges that are involved throughout the journey, and really that no career trajectory is a straight path. It's not a linear thing. It's much more like a maze, and it's our role to help people navigate this maze and find success.
Thank you again for joining us. We hope you've learned more about what workforce development participants and frontline staff are experiencing during COVID-19 and some timely approaches to support connections to quality work. A huge thank you to Danny Castro for sharing his time and insights with us. We also want to thank Prudential Financial for their generous support of the Job Quality and Practice series. We hope to see you again soon.